Welcome, welcome. I'm so excited. I've been waiting. There are a couple of people that kept me waiting for a long time. I got one of them, Joy Doris Chase. She's in the Bay Area, San Francisco. She grew up in Madras for the most part, and she has a book out that I read. Not all of it, but it's called Embers, and it's a treasure trove of just nuggets for someone who likes history and just loves to learn about the culture. What was it back then, the Raj era? She has pictures dating back to the 1800s, I think, 1839, of a wedding cake, of her parents' wedding cake. It goes, oh no, her grandmother's, not her parents, but her grandmother's birth certificate. But she's an artist, she's a writer. She grew up in Madras, went to Queen's Mary College, but now she's a librarian, which makes sense when you buy her book. You'll see how well documented it is. And I think you're still a librarian over there in some of the colleges. So Joy,
a few hours a week.
Nice. Welcome, and thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about you. Just a little snapshot, and then we'll dive in.
Thank you for inviting me. I know it's been some months because I had some eye surgery in December and January, and then my daughter had a baby, and so we've like been jumping hurdles to get here. But thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you bet. Is that the first grandchild?
It's my first grandchild.
Nice.
And she's so cute and sweet. Yes.
Awesome. And is the grandchild, does your daughter live in the Bay Area, close
She
enough?
lives in San Francisco. That's all. Yeah.
Nice. Perfect.
And my daughter Sheila lives in Oakland. So we're in
Okay.
the triangle,
Okay. Yeah.
Oakland's a little further, but yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So you live in Palo Alto, right? How long have you been?
Actually, I live in Redwood City, which is
Got it.
about
Okay.
10 miles north of Palo Alto towards San Francisco. There's still the peninsula with the San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley, whatever.
Yeah.
It's California. Yeah.
Yeah.
Northern
Yeah.
California.
So the Bay Area can be like, for people who don't know, like even I live in Atlanta, but people just say Bay Area. If you're from the Bay Area, people just throw out terms like Bay Area. But once you go there, it's a college town, at least Palo Alto, Sanford over there, and every company that everybody knows in the world has offices there, from Facebook to Google to
Yeah.
Apple. It's a really, really cool town, and it's very, very beautiful. It's very old, and it's very beautiful, very different from what you might have seen in the movies. Even living in Atlanta, it's very different than Atlanta. It's a
Yeah.
really, really cool place.
People say, this is such a nice day, we could be in Italy. And I always say,
Yeah.
why? We're in California.
Yeah. The weather is perfect. It doesn't get too hot. Even if it's hot, it's not muggy. It's a really,
The
really
quality
beautiful
of
place.
light is so beautiful too.
Yeah. Awesome. Have you ever have you taken the Waymo? Have you had a chance to do the?
I haven't, but I have a car that drives itself. So
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Yeah, that
I've been
makes sense.
using the self-driving.
Nice. Yeah.
And so it makes it easier for me when I go to San Francisco. I put the self-driving on and get to San Francisco and park in front of my daughter's garage, and then she drives it from then on
Nice.
because the city is so busy. But I work in San Jose, so I use the self-driving mostly on the freeway because especially, it's just less stressful actually. So I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Do you take the? I really got into the trains, or a Caltrain over there. I became an expert. At first, I was like, "What's this card that I need to install on my phone?" And then once I took it a couple of times, I was an expert. I took the train like north south. I was just whenever I
Yeah,
had
it's a
free
good
time.
train.
Yeah.
It's a good train, but then you have to get from, if you're going to be doing things in the city, you have to get from the train to the
Yeah.
event and
Yeah.
back. And I don't do too much late at night anymore.
Yeah.
But now, I might do some more things in San Francisco.
Awesome. So which part of Madras were you born in Madras?
I was born in Coimbatore,
Okay, nice. Okay.
but we lived mostly in Madras. My dad got transferred around. That's why my book, some people say it sounds like a travelogue. And I said, well, we lived in all these different cities,
Yeah.
And so I write about our time in the 50s and 60s in those areas, and even the 40s a little bit. Then we moved to different areas, and ended up going to what they call elementary school here at Dufton.
Really? Wow.
So I went to Dufton till it was time to go to high school. And then my dad got transferred to Sri Lanka, which was Ceylon then. My brother was actually born in Sri Lanka. But, they have the language requirement and Sinhalese and it's difficult. So my mother had gone to this school called Breeks Memorial School in Uttakaman, which is a boarding school as well. So I went to Breeks for my high school.
Okay. So were you like first to 10th in Dufton-ish around that time?
7, I think.
Okay, till the 7th. Okay.
Because
Awesome.
8,
And
9, 10, no, so it'd be 8.
okay.
Yeah. Then I went 4 years to Breeks.
So you're doing the high school.
Breeks was an international school. So now Breeks is, it had a 100-year lease, and now it's back to being an Anglo-Indian school, not an international school. And Hebron is the international school. So that's still over there in Uti.
Hmm.
We have roots in both those schools and, all the websites and
Yeah.
Facebook pages.
Yeah. Which part of Madras were you staying in when you were going to
Vepri,
Dufton?
I'm from Vepri.
To Vepri. I've never spoken to. I've only known one person from Vepri. I went to school with him, but I've never actually met anybody from Vepri. It
I
seems
know
like
lots of people from Vepri.
really.
Of course. Yeah.
It seems like at least for us, for me, right? Vepri was a town we just passed to get to school. And it felt like if there was any Anglos, maybe a lot of Anglos went to my school. I went to St. Mary's and Paris, but I probably only met one person from Vepri. Yeah.
Well, I have met many people from Perambur, of course. My grandparents lived in Perambur for a very short time, but I used to take the bus when we lived in Egmore. I
Yeah.
used to take the bus. Actually, no, that was when I lived at the YWCA on Punamali High Road in Madras.
Wow.
And I would take the train and the bus and end
Yeah.
up at Parry's Corner,
Yeah.
switch buses. And it was like an hour drive.
Yep.
Later on, I actually learned to drive in India. So when my dad was transferred back to Madras, I was able to drive to college. But for a long time, I just took the buses, all the buses and the trains, and I would
Yeah. Yeah.
go through the Egmore station and get a rickshaw to go home.
Nice. What was your dad's line of work that he got transferred?
My dad was with the State Bank of India, which was
Got it. Okay.
originally called the Imperial Bank of India.
No way. Really?
And he was transferred to many places, but Madras was where he spent the longest time, and he specialized in foreign exchange in Madras. And in Bangalore, he was the manager, and he retired from Bangalore.
So did you ever did you have to, as a kid, I'm not sure how old you were, but did you ever open up an account in State Bank of India and deal with them? How is the customer service? I know State Bank of India gets a bad rap these days, but have you had an experience back then?
They have over 1,000 branches, so it's a
Yeah.
big, big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Well,
sure
I had a little account. Then after I graduated, I went to Queen Mary's College in Mylapore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, right when I graduated, I came to America, and that was 1963.
Wow.
And I
What was
came by myself
the motivation?
to get out of England.
But was it like so you were a grad? Did you just come like I just wanted to find a job or go for more studies, higher
You
studies?
can't do that. No, I got a scholarship,
Mm.
and I came to school, and I was on an F1 visa. And at that time, they were only allowing engineers, doctors, and librarians and teachers. So I became a librarian, and I went to graduate school at the University of Wisconsin and got my master's degree there. And then I was able to keep changing my status. I got a work visa, and then I got a green card. I kept the green card for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Which year was this when you went to the US?
1963.
1963. And you went to Wisconsin
Long
directly.
before you were born.
And did you go straight to Wisconsin? Is that where you touched down?
No, I went to Bethel College in Minnesota in
Got it.
St. Paul.
Mm.
for a year. And then I applied from there. I had a sponsor who got me a scholarship at Bethel College. They used to give me room and board and $7 a week.
Wow, $7 a week.
But that's where I was in 1963 when John Kennedy was shot. 2 months
Wow,
after I came to America.
my God. So how was it? How was it? I definitely want to talk about your life in India, but I love this part of your life as well. How was it in 1963? Obviously, there was no internet, there was no network, right? So, but do you think there were many Anglos in the US back then, or were you one of the early ones?
Yeah, there were a few, but we were all over the country. And because I went to this international school, I had connections also, but they were also all over the country. I was really alone. I remember I would go to church and people wouldn't talk to me, and so I'd go back the next week wearing a sari and everybody would talk to me. But it wasn't, I stayed with a family for a little while in the summer or something, and they wouldn't use pepper, you know.
Mm,
So I kept trying to liven up the food.
hilarious.
But and then I got a job in the summer. Somebody at the college, Bethel College, helped me get a job, and it was in a factory where they made lock parts,
Mm,
and they had a big furnace in the middle where they melted the steel and stuff. So
yeah, yeah.
and then I think I got $1.25 an hour. And I had to get a ride to the job, which was like 12-hour days or 10-hour days or something. So the kid that I was riding with, he worked at a funeral parlor overnight. So when we went on our ride to work, he would tell me who had died and what time. So that was my
Hilarious.
introduction.
Well, I bet you had some fun stories. So what were you doing in the factory? Was it like what were you assembling something? Was it like
Yeah, just assembling the parts.
love it. I love it. I love it. So because I love that. I mean, as an immigrant or anybody starting off, whether you were born here or you immigrated, it's just such a story of just doing. When I was talking to Kevin as well, he had 3 jobs. He did whatever it took.
Yeah,
Uh,
you have to do whatever it takes. I applied to graduate schools all over, and I wanted to do English literature because when I was at Queen Mary's College, of course, I didn't have to work. I depended on my father for
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
And I studied Shakespeare and Milton and social history of England, totally out of context for the country I was living in.
yeah.
And so I wanted to study American literature and teach, which is another useless profession because you just perpetuate yourself. You teach students to teach Milton. So then I applied to library schools and I was more fortunate with that and got in and I worked while I went to school.
Wait, there's a library school? No way.
It was called library school. Now it's called information something.
So obviously librarian help us shed some light on some librarian background, things we don't know. We just assume, if you tell somebody, we just assume you're behind the counter keeping track of books, right? But
Well, professional librarians
yeah,
are different from the circulation staff. You have circulation staff who check out books and
okay,
label the books and shelve the books and things like that. And the professional staff will help students do research. And it depends where you're working. If it's college, I
okay,
worked at a community college for a long time. And a public library will help people coming in to find books or to help them with their reading and so on. And some public libraries have a lot of programs, but the community college tries to support the programs that college teaches.
Hmm. Wow.
So
My understanding of
I taught
librarian,
online for several years,
nice.
about 7 years, I think. I taught
Hmm.
online and I helped develop those research classes. And I always talk about working in a library like working in a candy shop because you want to eat the candy all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So clearly, and are you part of with your research background and I know you're somehow involved in the Anglo Indian. Is it a gathering or a meetup that's happening in January of next year? What's it called?
the International Anglo-Indian Reunion,
Reunion. Yeah.
but this is the 13th one. I've only been to like two, I think. I'm not really, Anglo-Indians tend to have little clans within the clan.
Yeah. The
So
Vepri clan.
I left India so long ago, I really don't
Yeah.
belong to any clans.
Yeah.
But I know people who go. The last one I went to was 2019, which was in Madras. And that was nice to go back to Madras. I stayed with Timmy Vanderput, who's my cousin.
Wait, Timmy Vanderput's your cousin?
Yeah.
No way. What a
His-
small world. I've been trying to
hi-
get him as well, but because
yeah, you must get him.
we went to college together.
His mother was my first cousin, right? My dad's brother's daughter, Dorothea. And Timmy and Sharon are my cousins, second cousins, I guess, from her. My
No
cousin.
way. Wow,
And
that's
Sheldon Wilkins is also related to me.
really.
So, but that's like more like by marriage because Sheldon's father met me at the affair they had in May when I was there.
Yeah.
And he said, "Your Auntie Thelma is my Auntie Thelma."
Huh.
So my uncle, me's grandfather, married a Thelma Wilkins.
Interesting.
So we're related that way.
Small world. Small world. So tell me about your parents. How much do you like how far back can you trace your history? Tell me your dad's name. Start up with like your dad's name and your mom's name. I love like the old-timey names, right? So the whole names and then tell me like how far back you can trace. Where were they born? If you know
Well,
any of
my,
that.
my cousin Greg Bryant in England has like 600 names in ancestry. And I haven't really traced all of them, but my father's name was Stephen Joseph William Chase. And he grew up in Madras. And I don't know which suburb he grew up in, actually, but probably not too far. His father is buried in the Kilpauk Cemetery.
Wow.
And his family goes back. He remembers a Stephen Chase who I've traced, who his mother was Indian and his father wanted to take him to England because he was fair or whatever. And his mother then took him to the market and had a caste mark put on his forehead so he could never go away from India.
Mm.
And he became a preacher. And my father took me to the church, which is now a Tamil church in Madras where he used to preach. I did a lot of exploring with my father because he'd like to make little side trips and I'd be along,
Yeah. How many siblings do you have and were you the youngest?
No, I'm the oldest.
Okay.
So that's why.
Yeah.
But my father went to the Christchurch school when he was little in elementary school. And he remembered climbing the steeple from inside. So we used to go and climb the steeple. He'd get the caretaker to give us a key and we'd go. And this was in the late 40s. So there was nothing else in Madras. We'd see the whole city from
Wow.
Christchurch on Mount Road.
Was there LIC building then? No.
No,
No. Oh
nothing.
wow.
I'm talking about 40,
Wow.
47, 48.
People have to look up the picture.
But so my mother's name was Phyllis Violet Isabella Shepherd.
Wow. 4 names. I love it.
Interesting. And my daughter gave her child 4 names. And I said, I guess it's coming back. But both my mother's family, her father was from England, but her mother goes way back. We can go way back in India and my father, both sides. So yeah, we've been in India for many generations.
Did you get to meet both
Assumedly
sides?
always been in India.
Yeah. Did you get to meet your grandparents, all of them?
I've met not my father's father, but my father's mother I knew well, and my mother's mother I knew well, and I knew her father. And her
Wow.
uncle, she's one of 9. And my mother being one of 9, she outlived everybody. She lived till 102. And she
Wow.
just died 2 years ago
2 years ago. Man. Yeah.
in Australia.
That generation, I think, just ate healthier and had exercise was more natural because they had to walk and just do
Yeah,
more, you know?
but she still outlived all her siblings.
Yeah.
She had the one who lived the longest in India, and another, his sister Gwen, lived in England, so they were still very separated. They lived till their 90s, but my mother just died. And I was thinking about her. She never really was sick in 100 years.
Mm.
She had 4 live births, and that's my sister Margot and my sister Jenny and my brother Eric, who lives in New Zealand. My sister Margot still lives in Australia. And my sister Jennifer lives here in Santa Barbara in California. And we
Wow.
all have families.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who came? So obviously, a sister, you kind of helped your sister get to Santa Barbara, or did she?
My sister came a few years after me, and she stayed here. But my sister Margot went to Canada, and then she went to Australia, where my parents went from India to Australia. But they didn't go till 68. My father was doing quite well in the bank, so they didn't really want to go.
Yeah, I figured as much. If you said you were driving, you were one of the few anglers who were driving around, at least I assume back then.
Well, getting on a bus is quite an effort, and
It is painful.
you have to push yourself in and get a seat.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us, give us a little snippet of life as little Joy. What was life like for an Anglo-Indian girl growing up in the streets
We
of
used,
Vepri?
used to walk to Dufton, was on Ritherton Lane, which is now called Church Lane, which is off of Ritherton Road in Vepri. That's a major road. And I don't think you remember Buck Singh, who was, I think, Pentecostal. He started a mission at the end of our street. And before long, he bought both sides of the street and closed off the street. That's why it's called Church Street now. And I think that mission still owns that property down there. And there used to be, I remember my father speaking. My father was a banker, but he was also very active in his church. They belonged to the Plymouth Brethren, which is kind of an esoteric, non-church church group. But my mother would always say that in my father's house are many mansions, but the brethren have a very small house. And that's because they're so narrow, you can put them 2 to a bed. So my parents were very strict.
Mm,
We weren't allowed to do much. And I always listened to you with all your stories of running around Perambor.
yeah,
I wasn't allowed to go anywhere.
really?
Oh, no, girls are never allowed to do
Yeah,
anything.
yeah. It's a mystery. Like Anglo-Indian girls, because I always talk to the boys. We did the same thing. We flew kites. We did all of this. Like the girls, I don't know what you guys did. It's a mystery.
Yeah,
But
well,
But how is was like I know that was like like the British left. It was only a couple of years after that. At least not so far removed. Was
British
it?
left in phases.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like was Vepri more still like how were people dressed or was it any different? Did the British still have any grips and things you would see on a day-to-day basis in Vepri?
Well, during the Second World War, I remember my father coming home and saying the war was over. We lived in Uti at that time, but I was very little. So I don't remember much about it. But um, they used Dufton Quarry was used by the British military.
No way.
And they camped over there because it had like 10 or 12 acres at that time. And the school was put in the convent. I don't remember if you know, the convent was next to Vepri, not quite in Vepri, but it was down Convent Lane. But so we went to school. When I went to kindergarten, it was at the convent, but it was Dufton's kindergarten. Then it was the next year when we came back to our property, the Dufton property.
Okay. Wow, I do not know that. I'm not sure how many Dufton students even know about the British
Well,
using
then
it.
there was Fort St. George, of course. We used
Yeah,
to make all those trips to the forts.
yeah.
And I've been to Mysore, and they say, oh, this is where the British threw Tipu Sultan down. I mean, our whole education was still very, very pro-British, let I say.
Mm,
It
yeah,
wasn't like I think we have to be, as Anglo-Indians, we have to be a little more aware of our
sure.
own
Yeah.
colonial biases
Yeah.
because they're really not like my daughter just had a baby and she said she didn't have her whole house together yet. So she said, "Do you mind sleeping on the couch in the living room?" I said, "No, not at all." She has a huge couch anyway. And I said, "I can sleep anywhere." And the reason is I used to take the train from Queen Mary's College in Madras up to Bangalore where my parents lived
Yeah.
and always traveled third class because it's
Oh wow.
safer.
Oh my God.
And then I'd have a steel trunk, which was fine because I never had to carry it. And I would sleep on my trunk to be safe and to keep my stuff from being stolen. I'd sleep on my trunk overnight and I'd end up in Bangalore and I'd get a coolie to carry my suit. Well, I was telling my kids the story and they started looking up Google for what is a coolie. And they said, "Mom, you can't use that word. It's a colonial word."
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And we sort of unconsciously fall into this habit of thinking we're the colonizers,
Yeah. Yeah.
whereas we were really very Indian and we had
Yeah.
our curry and rice every day.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some amount of glorification. There's an allure that it's just a shinier thing that
Well,
some.
it was a survival during the British era because during the Raj era, you couldn't
Yeah.
get a job unless you had
Mm.
some British leaders, spoke English, were able to, we provided a good education, which many women studied and were able to teach and set up schools. And we did a very good job for our community, but we're still not getting 100% of what the British were getting.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see the difference. Back then, it was probably survival. But I think if you speak to the youngsters today, it's just, I think it's a cool factor to connect more with the non-Indian side of the Anglo-Indian,
Yeah.
as opposed to a survival trait. Sometimes it could be a survival thing. You might get the better job because of the English language or whatnot. But I can see back then the motivation was different, and it makes a whole lot of sense.
I think it was misguided because here we were living in India. We didn't study the Indian poets or the Indian history much. I studied the Mughal period. What did that have to do with Madras?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So most of that I've just read on my own, actually.
yeah. So how was Vepri back then? Was there an Anglo-Indian? Did you have like dances? How was growing up? What was the Anglo-Indian culture
I
like?
was not allowed to go to any
Uh,
dances, but I was too young at that point anyway. But Dufton was all Anglo-Indian.
really? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I know
awesome.
it's not now because
Yeah, yeah. So you moved from Dufton to. Did you go back to Coimbatore? Did you say? Yeah, you did go to Uti for your college,
yes, I
right?
went to Breeks in Uti.
Uti, yeah.
And then when I graduated from there, about a year later, I came to Queen Mary's College at Madras. And then I was back in Madras. I spent like 10, 15 years in Madras,
Hmm.
actually.
Oh wow, did you like Uti? I've been there once. I have a cousin and I took the whole toy train. I tell my kids and my wife these stories about taking that train, and I so want to take them the next time we go to India.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It's beautiful. So are you named after somebody? What's your middle name? Doris. Is it after a
Yeah,
grandma?
I'm named after a missionary.
Hmm.
So this missionary's name was Eric Frickenberg, and he's from the Swedish, but they're from Wisconsin in America. And he was a missionary who influenced my father a bit. And he named my brother Eric, but my brother didn't come for 15 years after me. So I was named after his wife, Doris.
Okay.
And Joy was because they were so happy I was born, of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The first child.
But actually, my grandmother was nicknamed Joy, my great grandmother,
Hmm.
nicknamed Joy.
Oh wow.
So it is a name.
Wow. So I want to talk about this book. So first of all, and I'll put this up. I'll put the links up. This is Joy's book.
I brought a copy too.
Yeah, look at that.
It's on Amazon, so you can.
Yes, it's on Amazon. I'm not sure. Is it only US? I don't know, but I'll put the
No,
link
it's
up.
international.
Okay,
People have bought it everywhere.
perfect. It is okay. So this book the synopsis. It does not tell you what's in this book because as you read this book, you'll discover like bonus information It's like, what? That's so cool. And then you think you're done and you'll get even more bonus information. So I want you guys to buy the book. So I won't tell you all the details, but we'll talk about it. But I definitely want to intro this book a little bit. So this obviously talks about just life in India and talks about Joy's family pictures. I was in my description of the book I was writing, like it even has pictures and it sounds like silly, like I only read picture books, but it's a good documentation of Anglo-Indian history that you won't find in most places unless you have somebody from your family. You were lucky enough for someone in your family to have documented. So you can live through Joy and just see pictures from, like I said, she has pictures from the 18th century of like birth certificates. And it's crazy. And then pictures of people in like picnics, right? It's such an Anglo-Indian thing. Corned beef sandwiches, egg sandwiches, picnics. Those are just forgotten things, but there are pictures and she talks about it. And it's so easy to connect with all the stories. But just when you,
It's also important because people have a stereotype of Anglo-Indians in
yeah,
India. And so I really wanted to show that there were all kinds of Anglo-Indians.
yeah,
We
yeah,
were well off and poor, and we were mixed in different ways, Portuguese,
yeah,
French,
yeah.
Dutch.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, just when you think the book is done, it goes into Joy has recipes, right? So if you think this is just,
Originally,
yeah,
originally I was going to write a cookbook, and I have a whole group of women who were testing my recipes and all that. But the years went by, and I wasn't finishing the book, and then the internet came along, and then all
yeah,
the recipes were online, and
yeah,
Bridget was writing books, and I
yeah,
thought, oh, well, I just need to have a few recipes that are typical, and people can look up others. But I tried to show the full spectrum of
yeah,
life, you know.
yeah. And I'm not sure who remembers, but there's this chef, I think it's Emerald. He said, but wait, there's more. And just when you think the book is done, like one of my favorite parts of the book is when you list out the chronological events, starting from like, wow, 1497 Vasco da Gama, and it just starts from there, just bullet lists, right, of just historical events. I mean, just that alone is such a good add-on, right? So
That's
definitely
so
buy this
interesting. My
book.
brother also found that chapter
Yeah,
very interesting because, and I found it fascinating when I did the research because, you know, you think America was created, but actually France gave up America for India. There was these things happening at the same time, you know, that we don't have a scale for it. We
yeah,
don't.
yeah. It's crazy. Like, yeah, like I said, this book just gets better because it's like bonus. Maybe I shouldn't have ruined it. It's a spoiler, but you get like bonus and you think it's over and you get like even more bonus information. So definitely get it. It's a really good read.
But
So
I have a books to read reference section at the end, and I list a lot of books. Some
yes.
of them are out of print.
Oh wow. So okay, so I bought the book and I opened it up. And very early on, I see a picture of an invitation from well, I wrote it down, which help me out. Which queen was it?
That was Queen Elizabeth when she
Queen
came to
Elizabeth.
India in
Yes.
63, I think, 62.
Okay, like mind blown. Like I would have never seen that. Like tell us about that. What's that all about?
So they had a reception for her in Bangalore, and my father was the manager of the Bangalore State Bank of India main branch. And so he and my mother were invited.
It's Queen Mary, right? I think it's Queen. No, Elizabeth. Yeah, yeah. Queen Elizabeth II. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, tell us.
Yeah, I saw her when she was in Madras also, but I saw her drive by. We were trying to get home, and it was such a crowd. You know, there were hundreds and hundreds of people out. And my friend Claire and I were walking. We had to walk because nothing could drive. And we walked and walked and walked down Firstline Beach and down that area, Manipur. And finally, one of the sons of somebody who owned a dress shop, a cloth shop, you know, he recognized us because we had been patrons at his shop. And he said, get out of the crowd, stay over here. I'll get a rickshaw for you and get you home. Because otherwise we were just being pummeled
Hmm.
by everybody
Was
in
it
the
a big
crowd.
deal? It was
You know, the
crowded.
men take advantage when you're trying to
Hmm.
walk in a crowd. So it was, but we did get home that day.
So you kind of saw her and you waved by. That was in Madras, right? But the invite was in Bangalore, right? And you
Yes,
actually went
that
to the
was for my
party.
parents who were in Bangalore, and they were actually at the reception with her.
Wow, what, how did they get how did they get the invite?
Just because my dad was the manager of the bank. It
Wow.
was a big branch.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. So
But
how was it?
we have a story that my great grandmother's sister or cousin was some like maid in waiting to a lady in waiting to Queen Victoria.
Oh, wow, what does that even
And she
mean?
had written a letter to my great grandmother, which then was passed around and got lost. It's a story that we have in the family.
Wow. Oh my God, Queen Victoria.
But people have, connections to England, which they treasured in those days.
Yeah,
And then they've lost the connection to India, which we would like to know now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like I
yeah,
have a grandmother, my grandmother's mother was Mary, and we don't know what her Indian name really was, or whether
mm,
she was converted or what that, we don't have enough information. And
yeah,
in India, most families know about their families for generations,
yeah,
but we didn't get that.
yeah. Because I think once, I don't know, my assumption is if you converted or somehow you were just kind of immediately just swept into a different lifestyle, more of the Anglo lifestyle or whatever that is, right? And I think,
Yeah, but it's one thing to be swept into a different religion,
hmm,
another thing to be swept into a whole different culture.
yeah, maybe there was some rejection as well. Who knows, right? What happened, if it was a religion change, but yeah, it would be great. I love history and I love that you have stories from your great grandmother. I can't even date that. That's,
And what difficulties and also their expertise, to cross cultures and religions like that.
yeah,
That's quite
yeah.
a thing.
What a
We know
time,
how difficult it was coming here.
Yeah,
I always
yeah,
tell people who are new, I say, well, don't worry, in 10 years you'll feel this is home.
yeah,
So it takes about 10 years to really, solidify.
yeah,
Like when my children were in kindergarten, or maybe first or second grade, they'd come home and say, Mom, you can't have curry for Thanksgiving. We have to tell everybody what we have. And you have to have turkey. So from then on, we had turkey with all the trimmings. But I see new families who come from India, they still have all the curries and things for Thanksgiving.
yeah, yeah,
It's but so it takes like 10 years for you to
yeah,
culturize and say,
yeah,
okay, this is what you do. You're in America. We never
yeah,
had Thanksgiving in India anyway.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was like, yeah, thanks Columbus found India, found America almost. But okay, so it must have been a little different for you because you were here by yourself, and when you have your family. For me, it was a little easier because my wife is from here, So I kind of like, okay, I'm here. Oh, you're doing Thanksgiving, I'm in, right? So I
Yeah,
didn't have
she
to
knew how
figure
to
it.
do the whole thing. We had to
Yeah,
learn.
yeah,
So my husband, the father of my children, is William Menezes, and he was originally from Goa, but he grew up in Ethiopia, and he went to school in the Nilgiris
oh wow,
at St. Joseph's in Kannur. So we connected on different levels, and
yeah, yeah,
we have
yeah.
the two girls. Now we have the granddaughter. So
Nice. I know Charlotte, who I also spoke with. They are in Texas. There's a huge Anglo clan in Texas. They do the turkey, but they also do a tandoori turkey as well
yeah,
for Thanksgiving, which is kind of cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the
So,
children aren't going to go to school and say we had
yeah,
tandoori
yeah,
turkey for
yeah. Like,
Thanksgiving.
what's that? Yeah. Nobody ate tandoori turkey, but it's kind of cool. So also, Joy, tell me about the signature book. Did you collect signatures from people?
An autograph book?
Yeah, yeah, an autograph book. Yeah.
Well, there's two stories to do with signatures, actually. My father's aunt, who would be my grandaunt, she was a doctor in Madras, and she lived at the YWCA. That was her property, actually, at the time. And she had a dictionary, an English dictionary, that she had signed. And then my father was given that dictionary when she died. And he signed it every 10 years the rest of his life.
Wow.
And I have that dictionary.
Wow. So your dad would sign it every 10 years?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have that. I think I might have put something about it in my book, but I had autograph books and they
Yeah.
write little poems and things. I
Yeah.
still have a few of those from lower
So
grade.
tell us, because I think I read you had Lord Mountbatten's signature.
I do. That's true.
Joy, you cannot keep those nuggets from us. Tell us, like, how did that happen?
So he was called Lord Mountbatten, and he came to Uti. He was in India. It was after independence because I was in school there, and he came to the governor's house. He stayed there, and because we were in the school in Uti, we collected all our autograph books and gave it to the bearer who worked in that house, and he presented it to Mountbatten, and he signed every single one of them.
Wow. So that was a thing back then, like people just had autograph books to collect from like famous because there were no cameras, I guess, easily
Yeah.
available. So it was
Well, we wouldn't have been able to get anywhere close to him anyway.
yeah,
But there were
yeah,
pictures of Queen Elizabeth. Yeah. Mountbatten wasn't in the South as much.
yeah, yeah. That's amazing. Who else do you
That's
have?
why I got that.
Who else of some note do you have an autograph from? Was it just Mountbatten is the biggest name, I guess?
Well, he was related to the royal family, I guess, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
quite a few books were out about him and his wife Edwina, supposed to have been a close friend of Nehru's.
Wow, well, that's amazing. So then tell us, I know you wrote you talk about the good life during the Raj, and I think your book is very anchored because you kind of always are straying back to like, but let's not get carried away and lost in the whole colonialism and get enamored by that. So you talk about the good life during the Raj, and it was, I assume it would have been good for most Anglos, but was there like a downside to being an Anglo back then or like,
Yeah, I used to listen to stories when I was a child, we would be put to bed and I would stay awake because my parents and their friends would talk about these horrible British people who were taking all the jobs and not giving them, the Anglo Indians originally Anglo Indians and the British married freely and they were encouraged to marry because it was more stable. Then there were more British women coming out, so they threw all the Anglo-Indians out of the military. They were not allowed to be in the British Army unless they could prove they were British or something. And then they created a secondary army. So that was they had the British Army, the Anglo-Indian Army, and the Indian Army. So people were always trying to go from one to the other. But yeah, so I think there was always an aspiration there that Anglo-Indians were then, after what's now called the First War of Independence in 1857, they were put into the railways and all the communications, telegraphs and things like that. And so then the colonies rose up because the Anglo-Indians were all living in the junctions, and my father was born in Katpadi. I always thought
wow,
Katpadi was just a village,
yeah,
and it's actually a huge
yeah,
junction,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
there's a big Anglo-Indian colony that lived in Katpadi.
Hmm. Wait, what happened? What was this colonies rising up? What was the reason?
Well, because they worked on the railways.
Okay.
People worked on the railways, so then they would live in these junction areas, and they'd create schools and churches and
Yeah, got it.
dance
Okay.
halls, like you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah,
But they were still very disciplined. I think Anglo Indians are very disciplined. And they study, and they just didn't have opportunities. So
yeah.
after they were taken out of the military, then they had some of them joined some of the Maharajas and stuff, but then they were put into the music areas like farias and medicine areas. So they excelled at that. And,
Hmm.
and then, of course, they adopted the music and, you know, the, the British military music is a little bit depressing, but it takes the Indian music and takes all the fun out of it, and then you just have this marching band kind of thing. And the Anglo Indians really jazzed it up and made something of the music.
Yeah. Interesting. So if I would understand this right, back then, like the Anglos and the British were kind of like were living in harmony, and but then slowly there was like a detachment period between Anglos, and like the Britishers were like saying, no, you are now, we're going to separate you. And there was this slow detachment. Wow, that must have been tough for people because they might have felt
Yeah, I think, and it
stuck.
became even more tough after 1947 when
Yeah.
all those jobs that were kept for Anglo-Indians were then taken away, and they had no special jobs that were theirs. So then they had to compete, and sort of a shift, and a lot of Anglo-Indians had a hard time in India, and of course, many, many left. They left before they even could see what happened or what
Hmm.
would happen.
Must have been an identity thing, even, because they identified with the British probably a bit more, and now they
Well,
were
they just thought
rejected.
that they wouldn't get opportunities in India because anybody who's not in a caste, is kind of ostracized anyway. And then you classify within those castes. And I think now people are having a hard time again politically and culturally in India when we had a seat in the government in the Raj Sabha, and now they've taken those away as well. It's hard, but in England, of course, they have absolutely no status at all
Yeah, yeah,
because they all tried to pretend they weren't Indian and they weren't Anglo-Indian, and
yeah,
famous
yeah,
people who denied their background. You keep hearing about people who had ties to India, which you never heard of before, like Virginia Woolf. I had no
yeah,
idea.
yeah,
But, you know,
yeah,
I think it's something to be proud of.
yeah,
Our mixed heritage is
yeah,
something that my father would say, well, we get the best of the British and the best of India.
yeah. I think Uther put it pretty well. I'm going to butcher it, but he said we are perfect Indian because we have like half of this Indian and half of this British. I definitely butchered it, but he had a good way of saying it. Uh, so when you came to the States back then, right? Uh, was it? I'm sure you had to explain. Did you have to explain Anglo-Indian? Were people surprised how
Yeah,
good your
and
English was?
especially back then, so long ago, that people weren't exposed to the world as much as they are now with the
Yeah,
internet and travel
yeah,
and mixtures and diversity, and people come here from Vietnam and different countries, that there's much more exposure now. But people would say, "Did you really drink tiger milk?" And I would say, "Yes, we have tiger farms and we milk the tigers electronically." So I would make up stories, that
hilarious tiger
it's just
milk.
hard to explain. Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. So, okay, so this is always tricky with girls because I ask boys, right? Maybe you should help me out what questions I should ask girls because I ask boys like, did you ever fly kites?
My father flew kites, and
Okay,
I was involved with kites. So
nice.
when I was very young, when we lived in Uti, my father made a box kite. They're not easy to make. They're three-dimensional,
Wow.
and
Okay.
you have, like a cube. So
Yeah.
he made a box kite, and I would go out with him and he'd fly it. So we were in the hills in Uti, which is 7,500 feet up in the, and so one day somebody cut his kite and it went over the hill and we didn't know where it was. So then for the next several hours, we were walking all over the hills. And I'm just a little kid.
Yeah.
We found the kite. So we
Wow.
brought it home.
Your dad sounds like an adventurer. He sounds like you had some good times. It sounds like you were his little buddy and you got to tag along on his
Well, there
adventures.
were good times and bad times.
Yeah.
He was very, very strict with me. And so that was not helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember him saying to me, Joy, what are you going to do when you go to America? And I looked at him and said, I'm going to do exactly what I want to do, which of course you never can, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's hilarious. So, was there any boxer in your family?
No, there were not that I know of a boxer, but Robin Stafford, who I went to high school with in Breeks, he used to ride a white horse around the hills. His father was apparently South African, and his father was a boxer, and we were always talking about the fact that when he grew up, he was going to South Africa to become a boxer, which I believe he did.
Yeah.
but we lost touch with him some time ago.
Yeah.
My mother's brothers were actually in the British Army.
Wow.
My uncle Len, who died in India at the age of 98, he talked about walking from Burma to India after the
Mm,
war
yep.
ended. There
Yeah.
were stories.
That whole thing, I've only came to know about East Pakistan or Burma and how people walked through the jungles. I think from talking with a bunch of folks on here, Uttar and some couple other folks, even Ward, and that's how they landed up in Calcutta and Northeast, which is kind of crazy,
Yeah,
crazy
that was my
period.
uncle Len. My uncle Harry Roslin, he got a military medal for holding up two soldiers in Dunkirk. The
Wow.
military medal is given by, it's one below the Victoria Cross in England.
Wow. It's amazing. So do you cook a lot? I know you have awesome restaurants there, but do you cook any specifically Indian food?
I just made some butter chicken for
Oh,
my
you did?
daughter and both my daughters, because we were up in the city. Yeah, I cook, but I like to go out for a dosa.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, I live alone, so I don't really, but if I make food, it lasts too long.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned your kids. How did you parent them? I know you came to the US when you were still very, very young, but did you have any Anglo influence on them, or like did you speak that language, or did you throw out any Anglo terms when you were raising them?
Well, yeah, but I used to call them bandus. And recently, my one younger daughter, she thought that was her name. But then my older daughter said, no, that was her name. So now we call the grandchild a bandu.
It's a generic name. Everybody gets it.
Yeah, everybody gets it. But they didn't know that. They thought I'd made it up and it was a special name.
Hilarious.
And I gave my dog an Indian name. I'm not thinking of it right now.
Probably Raja or Money, famous dog
Kuti
names.
Appa Gramani, that was his name.
Wow, oh my God.
Because my aunt, who was quite special to me, she lived on Kuti Appa Gramani Lane in Madras for a while. And that name always stuck in my mind. So when I got this little dog, I called him Kuti, but then
Yeah,
we had to give him a full name.
hilarious. Imagine introducing a dog to other people. Like, what's his name? Benji, Rover, and here comes.
Well, Kuti, Tamil. But yeah, I try to be aware of these colonialisms because, I wrote my book. I was very careful to take out the word servant because really that's very colonial. You have people working in your house here, but you don't call them servants.
Yeah,
But so I made sure I went through with Find, and took out any reference to servant, and I put in words that were appropriate, help in the house. And a friend of mine, she read my book and she's like, I can't believe how many servants you had. And I said, hey, I didn't say I had any servants. So she had some other previous,
yeah,
not,
yeah,
understanding
yeah.
that she brought it. But
It's
many people have enjoyed the book.
Yeah, yeah, it is wild, like the language we use, but there was no malicious intent at all, but it was just language that was handed down and was just a way of communicating, without any malicious intent. There was nothing. We're just ignorant to all
Well,
of
most
the,
Anglo-Indians were very careful to speak proper English at home so that they always
Mm,
knew really good English wherever they went.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. So tell me your favorite Indian food and your favorite American food.
And favorite what?
Favorite Indian food and favorite American food.
American food, I can't think, but dosa is for sure.
Dosa, yeah, you can't beat a good masala dosa, right?
So I just joined a meetup group. It's a women's Indian meetup group, and the intent is to go to a different Indian restaurant every month. And the
Joy.
first one is a chain called Mylapore,
Oh,
where
wow,
they
look
have
at
the
that.
best dosas.
Yes. So Bay Area, plenty of Indian. The Indian population is huge. It's a melting pot, really. When they say America's a melting pot, like I think they mean the Bay Area
Yeah.
is like 90% of the melting pot. There's plenty of Indian restaurants and it's really good food. I'm always envious of of the folks from there who get to choose. So, did you write any other books, or is this? I know you wrote another book, right? Or you were
No,
involved?
I keep thinking about writing other books. I've written smaller things, magazines and stuff, but
Yeah,
no, this
yeah,
took me a long time.
yeah,
But I am thinking about other things.
yeah. Awesome. Do you still have any family in India, or there's when you go back to? I guess Timmy's there, but
No, Timmy's in Australia now.
really,
Yeah. So Timmy's in Australia, but his sister Sharon is in Madras. Yeah, I have secondary cousins and things, but I have cousins in Kuwait, in Australia, in New Zealand, in Canada, in,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. So do you?
England.
And you are going to the reunion
Yeah, and I'm
in
actually going to
26.
speak for a few minutes on the
Nice.
research day Tuesday. I wish you were coming.
I
I
know, right?
wanted to
Yeah,
promote your podcast.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I wish I could. I might. I don't know. I still might come as a guest if I can make it. My hope is to visit that time. But yes. So the reunion. Who can go to this reunion? If anybody can go, right?
Actually, anybody can go. They have to register, and I
Yeah.
think 100 people have registered already.
Okay.
And the hotels, they have like 5 hotels with discount rates
Okay.
and
And it's in
yeah,
Kerala,
a
right?
program already set up. I'll send you the link.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
So
in Kerala.
I'm kind of late in deciding because I was trying to find somebody to go with me. And I was trying to do a big trip, go to Australia and Kuwait and everything.
Yes.
So at my age, I decided I should just go to India and come back and just spend a week or a week and a half.
Yeah.
I think I can handle that.
Yeah. Yeah, at the same time, you're already there in that part of the world. The temptation is to just get it done with that part of the world, but it can
Yeah.
be tiring for sure.
One never knows what the world situation will be like then.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Joy, well, is there anything else you want to tell us? Any other nugget you've been holding back?
Well, I think I answered your question. I do have an art show right now up
On,
in Redwood City with about 16 of my paintings. These are my paintings back here.
wow, yes. Is there an online gallery we can go and look at?
No, they don't have it online, but they're going to extend it for another month so people in the area can still see it.
Okay,
But
awesome.
I also do some watercolors. I try to just keep active. I'm active in my church. I belong to an Episcopal church in Palo Alto now and have friends and groups and we do things.
Yeah. How often do you meet up with who's the Anglo-Indian crowd do you hang out with, or how often do you get to see? Because I put all of you together. I put like Kevin. I just assume you, Kevin, and that whole gang is just meeting up on a regular basis.
Well, we were meeting and we collected quite a bit of money for charity in India. But then when COVID came, we had to stop having the dances and the picnics and whatnot. And since then, it's been kind of dissolved. And I think some individuals meet in their homes once in a while, but I haven't been included in that. So I don't really know what they're doing. But that's a big group in the South Bay here. And then in Chicago, there's this active group too that they
Yeah.
come from all over the Midwest, and that was fun. I went a couple of times there, and America's so big, people are
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we'll meet people. Yeah, I think you do meet people at these reunions that are international from
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a big Calcutta crowd there, but
Yeah. I'm guessing you have met more Indians in the US since you moved here than than in India because you go there so rarely. But at least the Anglo-Indian population is growing. And thankful that people like Sheldon and Jeff and Kevin are just doing things that Anglos can have a place to go and just speak the language, or just meet up people with similar backgrounds and stories and
yeah,
hang out.
just
It's
enjoy
such a great
chatting.
thing. Yeah, yeah. So, well, Joy, thank you so much. Like I said, get Joy's book. Joy, you'll have to send me links to anything else that you have.
Yeah, get my book.
Yes.
That's me, and of course that's backwards, but
Yeah.
that's me around 1962.
Oh, wow. So that's a year before you went to the
Actually
US.
taken in Hyderabad.
Yeah, that's amazing. Get this book, like I said. There's bonus material. I did not get through all of them. It's a great read, great stories. There's pictures in it. It does not come with crayons, not that kind of a picture book, but great. I think it's a great documentation. It's like a historical documentation.
That's what it's meant to be. I have
Yeah.
a Facebook page for it as well.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
And
So
you can join that.
yes, please send me the link of your Facebook page or text it to me.
Okay.
And I'll add all of this. But Joy, thank you so much.